Imagine driving your car onto a floating machine the size of a football pitch. Then instead of sailing, it lifts. It's not a boat, it's not a plane, it's something in between. And 35 minutes later, you're in France. This wasn't science fiction, this was the SR-N4 Hovercraft, and it completely changed how people crossed the English Channel. But here's the part most people don't realise. It was also one of the loudest, most complex, and eventually unsustainable transport experiments ever built. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why. If you're into aviation history, engineering, or classic transport design, this is one of those stories where British innovation went all in. We're talking about the largest civil hovercraft ever built, capable of carrying passengers and cars at aircraft-like speeds. So let's break down how it worked, why it succeeded, and what ultimately brought it to a stop. The SR-N4, also known as the Mountbatten class hovercraft, entered service in the late 1960s and immediately stood out. At around 40 metres long and weighing close to 200 tonnes, this wasn't just big for a hovercraft, it was big full stop. It could carry over 250 passengers and around 30 cars in a 4-lane vehicle deck. You'd drive on board via a front ramp like a ferry, but what happened next was completely different. Instead of pushing through water, the SR-N4 floated on a cushion of air. A massive rubber skirt trapped that air underneath, lifting the entire craft clear of the surface. Powering all of this with 4 Rolls-Royce Proteus gas turbine engines. Each one drove enormous propellers mounted on top of the craft, some of the largest ever fitted to a civilian vehicle. Top speed was around 80 knots, cruising comfortably above 60 knots, meaning you could travel from Dover to France in roughly 35 minutes. At the time, nothing else came close. But this incredible performance came with a hidden downside, one that would only become clear once these machines entered full service. The SR-N4 wasn't just an engineering experiment, it became a fully operational transport system. From 1968 onwards, these hovercraft ran regular services between Dover and France. Operators like Seaspeed and Hoverloyd built entire routes around them. At peak times there were multiple crossings per day, it was fast, futuristic, and for passengers genuinely exciting. You didn't need deep water ports either. Because the hovercraft could travel over land and water, terminals could be placed much closer to towns and cities. Then came the upgrades. The Mark II increased capacity, and later the Mark III stretched the craft even further, carrying over 400 passengers and up to 60 vehicles, nearly double the original capacity. For a while it looked like hovercraft were the future of short-distance international travel. If you're enjoying this and want more deep dives into iconic aircraft and engineering history, make sure you're subscribed. There's a lot more coming, including some lesser known stories you probably haven't heard before. For all its innovation, the SR-N4 had some serious challenges. Fuel consumption was a major one. At cruising speed it burned around 1,000 gallons per hour. Then there was the noise. Those massive turbine engines weren't subtle, you didn't just hear an SR-N4 arriving, you felt it. Maintenance was another issue. The skirt alone was a complex, high-wear component that needed constant attention. And while it could operate in rough conditions, it still had limits compared to traditional ships. But the biggest challenge came from competition. More efficient ferries began to dominate, and eventually the Channel Tunnel offered a quieter, cheaper, and more reliable alternative. By the year 2000, the SR-N4 was retired from service. What once felt like the future had become a relic of a very bold idea. Today only one example remains, the Princess Anne, preserved at the Hovercraft Museum. It stands as a reminder of a time when engineers didn't just refine transport, they reinvented it completely. The SR-N4 wasn't perfect, but it proved something important. That you could drive your car onto a machine, lift off the surface of the sea, and cross an entire channel in under an hour. And even now, that still feels a bit futuristic. If you want to bring a piece of that engineering history to your own workbench, Airfix has brought the SRN4 back as part of their Vintage Classics range. You can check out the model using the link in the description and see how this iconic hovercraft comes together in scale form. We hope you've enjoyed this look back at the SRN4 hovercraft. Make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.